And here we are. Well, most of us anyway. Hang on. Let me turn on your guys' mics. Oh wait, that's Salvus.
Oh,
I don't even have one for Cypress. Welcome to the podcast, I guess.
Yay.
apparently, apparently Michael doesn't have his face.
Yeah, hang on. Let me fix the reactive stuff if I
Quick.
can remember how to do that.
Back
Here,
to the
let me
makeup
send you
room.
the website.
Do I have a reactive face?
You will in a minute.
I'm just seeing the Green Goblin, and I saw it jumping, and I'm like, oh my god, is that supposed to be me?
No,
Okay, no,
no,
it's not me.
that's Michael. That's Michael's character.
That's
old
me.
character from Sundown. Wait, what do you mean that name's already in use? Do I already have one for Cypress and I just don't know where it is? Where the frig is it?
Back to the makeup room. We gotta fix everything.
This might be better. Okay, that's probably better. We'll go with the group thing.
Oh no, they multiplied.
Oh shit.
There we go. We'll go with that.
Turn
Although
him back
I'll
around.
need to. I can't flip. I have to flip everybody if I flip you.
Fuck.
Ah,
Yeah, hang on. Let me see. Let me see here. Thank you for the. Is that bread? Is that rotating garlic bread or is that a hot dog?
they're hot dogs.
Thank
They're
you for
from
the hot
Usuals.
dogs. Let's see here. Never mind. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't even know what I'm trying to fix. What am I trying to fix? Oh, right. Salvus. Why did it do that? What am I doing? Okay. You. Okay, are you Teetle now?
Yes.
Alright, there we go. We don't need you to be Salvus for this. Okay.
Oh.
I changed it myself.
Okay. I was wondering what happened there. Like, wait a minute, when did you become a dancing turtle? Which, that shouldn't be that confusing to me, but
I'm still not seeing a problem with this.
True. Well, anyway, welcome to the, I don't know how long it's been since the last episode, Mike and the Rockcast.
About 10 months for this particular thing with me.
Oh yeah,
I think
it's been a long fucking time.
Yeah, since like the D&D questions, I think it's been since like June or July 2022. But for me and you doing it specifically, it's been since like March of last year.
Yeah. Oh my god. It's been a long fucking time. Holy
It has.
shit. It's been a long time, guys. Anyway, yeah, I don't know what episode this is, but this is the sequel to the DM questions podcast that we had forever ago. That this might as well be its own. So this might as well be its own thing at this point. This might as well be its own. It shouldn't be a sequel at this point. It might as well be the episode. But yeah. So we had answered a bunch of questions last time. Questions 1 through 16. So this time we'll be going through questions 17 through 35. However, we still have 2 talking points. If you guys want to reiterate on the talking points, if we want to go back over them and see if our opinions have changed since the last time. But it's up to you guys. We have about 2 hours, give or take. A little bit more than 2 hours. Be like 2 hours and like a minute. Never mind, a minute just passed. So yeah, you guys want to go over the talking points again, or do you want to like just go jump straight into the questions? Oh yeah. Also, Shan is here this time. She wasn't here last time.
Oh shit.
I love.
Hey.
I think I would have to refine my questionnaire of questions. Because I'm pretty sure I lost them.
Do you guys want me to send you the question list, or do you have?
I actually have them.
Okay.
I would very much appreciate it.
All right. I'll go ahead and send them to Cypress. There you go. I'm pretty
Thank you.
sure anybody with a link can view that. I'm gonna like shrink you guys a little bit. Just a little bit.
Big.
Make you a little smaller. There we go. There we go. Okay.
I was about to say I was a massive head on your screen.
Yeah.
We all be big heads.
Yeah, but I'm a giant box, literally.
I gotta remember not to close the OBS thing, because if I do, it minimizes my scene transition thing and my chat and everything else. But yeah, so what do you guys want to do? You want to go straight into the talking points or go straight into the questions?
Talking point one. What would you do in the orc baby situation? Is a very strong way to start a podcast, even if it's a sequel.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, I feel like we should go into that again, just see if our opinions have changed on it.
Yeah.
So from this will be from a, we'll start with a player perspective. Say your party go into a cave after massacring a group of orcs, and you find out that inside of this cave is basically where they have all of their babies, their children, like baby orcs, kid orcs, etc. What do you do in that situation as a character? Like what do you do? Like do you kill the babies? Do you kill the orc babies? They're babies. Or do you do something else? What do you do? What would you do? We'll go with Michael, you go first since you're technically the furthest to the left on the line.
Nice. Okay. I didn't think we'd start the new year with do you kill the babies?
Do you kill the babies in the cave?
That wasn't always an option.
Okay, so I I always tend to be good with my characters. I always tend to roleplay good characters. There are occasions where I do neutral and such, but it really depends on the character I'm playing. But 98% of the time, I will say, yeah, they're fucking babies, dude. Let's just leave them alone, or I don't know, let the orc moms, if they're still there, take them and leave, or we adopt them and then give them to an orphanage or something like that. Just something that would leave the babies alive, preferably.
All right. What about you, Cyrus? What would you do in a player situation with the orc babies?
For me, it's always going to be depending on the character I'm playing. Some of my characters are less than scrupulous, so they would probably find profit out of the situation.
Fair.
You know, orc veal or something like that.
Not the direction I was expecting, but fair.
Cheap slave labor. It doesn't matter. I mean,
That's
it's all
what
the
I was
same.
thought I was going, but yeah.
For most of the characters that I play, they would be more altruistic and try and do something positive with the children. As far as orc mommies retrieving them, they were slaughtered. This was established at the beginning of the question, Michael. They're gone. They were with the fighting forces. This is just a cave full of babies. There are questions right there and then that I'm also having about the whole orc situation. Like, apparently they breed in litters, or they just all drop at the same time, like a uniform hormone system, which is weird in and of itself. So,
All right. Well, what about you, Love? What do you do in the orc baby situation as a character? Like, what would you do in that situation?
Well, I guess it also depends of what kind of character I'm playing. But in any fact, one, they're babies. Two, there's a chance of like raising them and grow up, they won't be evil. Or three, just drop them off at an orphanage.
Fair.
we found the it's a zero problem now.
As for my perspective, obviously, again, it definitely would depend on the character I'm playing. Ellipsa would probably want to adopt them. Colby would definitely just leave them there. Yeah, she's very cold, and well, life isn't fair, unfortunately, in her eyes. Other characters would have different responses, obviously, but yeah, it's definitely very character reliant. That I feel like that question is probably next time we answer that, maybe we'll have to go with like, what character, like maybe like the character you're currently playing, what would they do or whatever. But either way, I don't know if it's actually necessary to say how would you run it as a DM, because I feel like it's, you know.
You put the problem out there as the DM.
Exactly.
You're running it and leaving it to the players to figure it out. I mean,
Exactly. It's just one. It's basically a puzzle. It's like, what do you do with all these fucking babies?
why can't I hold all these babies? Dropping oranges meme.
Exactly. And then there's talking point number 2, which is definitely from a DM perspective. As a DM, what are your thoughts on evil player characters, Michael?
Well, for me, my philosophy has always been if there's someone running an evil character in the party, I will always stress to them, you can do evil to everyone in the game world, but try not to do evil to the party. Like, don't steal from them, don't murder player characters randomly, even if it's in character. Just, I want the players to be a team, because, like, they're there to play and have fun together, and I don't want there to be unnecessary conflict caused by someone's alignment, because alignment in general can cause arguments and it's really annoying, and there's so many DMs who get rid of it, but I like alignment. So yeah, just be a dick to everyone but your fellow players, unless it's for dramatic purposes and everyone consents to it. That's when it's okay.
But I want to pants people.
That's not evil.
That's like Hamburglar levels of evil. Cypress,
yeah, that's my stats on it.
how do you feel about evil characters, Cypress? Hold your thought.
I'm not a huge fan of them because not a lot of people play them as evil. They play them as dicks.
Yeah.
Pardon the expression. They don't play it as, they're out there pushing an agenda, which is what, and for me, in my opinion, evil is. They just don't want to care and do what they want, when they want, how they want.
Mm-hmm.
If a player can approach the game in a good manner, a good character concept behind the character, I don't care if you're evil or not. You're with this group. Why are you working with this group?
Mm-hmm.
They're helping you push your agenda. They're helping you, build your forces. You're hoping to take them as your generals, building a force. That's a good motivation. That's a good drive. That's fine. But it's the people that just get together of I want to burn the orphanage and sack the cave full of orc babies type of situation.
It always comes down
Yeah.
to baby.
I want selling the orc babies as veal. What I just said to the orc babies situation.
That definitely constitutes evil.
Yeah, if I may step in for a second.
Go ahead.
Evil characters are often used as a way to disengage from the game, then engage with it.
Yes.
I've often found.
Yeah, definitely. Basically, just letting just a thinly veiled attempt for the player to do what they want, as opposed to, what their character should be doing or whatever. Like to impose chaos or whatever. Before we move to you, Love, I actually have a follow-up question for you, Cypress. Via your point of view, would you consider Talvi to be evil?
To a degree.
Fair.
I would put her much more in the neutral territory because she's doing both sides of the spectrum. There are some things that could definitely be considered, on the dark flavor, and then there are things that are definitely on the good flavor. So she's more squarely neutral, in my opinion.
Interesting. Fair enough. All right, Love, how do you feel about evil characters from a DM perspective?
To me, as long as they're not being flat at dicks, depending on how they're playing the character. Because, in a way, you shouldn't, make it complicated for the rest of the party. But it does give an interesting narrative, a story, depending on how the character is played.
True. That's very fair. I agree, honestly. Personally,
For the most.
Huh?
Go ahead.
Personally, my perspective on it as a DM, I've not really had a whole lot of people play evil characters much. I mean, you guys would know. You've been in pretty much all my games. But yeah, I honestly feel like if you're going to play an evil character, it's definitely one of those things you need to work with the DM on a lot, because if you don't do it right, it's just annoying. You know, it's annoying to everyone else.
Mhm.
An evil character that isn't done right is literally just a problem for the rest of the party. Uh,
That was actually going to be my follow up.
yeah.
I wouldn't let somebody that is new to the group, playing with me as me being the DM. I would not be comfortable letting somebody brand new to the group be playing an evil character. I don't know how they play. I don't know how they interact with everybody else, and they might have been kicked out of the last group just because they're playing this character again.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, I suppose then that was all the talking points. So I'm going to sneeze, and then we'll go into the questions.
Bless you.
It's amazing. I didn't hear him sneeze. It must have been loud where you were.
I hate so much. I did that thing where you inhale about to sneeze, and then nothing happens.
Yeah,
God damn
I
it.
know
Son of a bitch.
that.
Sits there at the back of the nostril. Yeah.
But before more questions are asked, also when it comes to the orc babies thing, when it comes to my character Abaddon, I either foresee him either dropping him off at an orphanage or raise him as his own and make his soldiers.
Nice.
Because
Honestly,
he was from hell, so.
I would say probably the most evil character I've ever played has been Chava, and I kind of feel like he would either go. There's a few ways he could go with the orc baby situation, honestly, and it really highly depends on who's with him and who's there to be his moral compass. If he's hungry, convenient. Uh,
And we're back to veal.
exactly. So I suppose with that, then we should move on. Like I said, to the questions, and um, in the last podcast, we'd gotten down to question 16, which was, well, we passed. It was the last question we had that we answered was, what is the best / worst way you have killed a PC? And if you want to know the answer to that question, you guys will have to go and watch the YouTube video on it, unfortunately. Mostly because I don't remember what the fuck we said, but also because I want people to watch the YouTube video. As opposed to that, we will actually be starting on the first question, which is number 17 on the list. What are your thoughts on DMPCs? Michael.
Well, I've never really had the NPCs in my campaigns. I tend to let players do their own thing. I always feel like DMPCs are things that should be there, like to be guides for the players, like indirect guides, of course, or as fill-ins for other characters. Because if it's just a party of two characters, then yeah, it's always good to have another there to help them, usually as a heal bot.
Yeah.
But but I don't hate them intrinsically. I just think I just like letting the players do their own thing without me trying to guide them without uh, stepping in with someone in the world.
Yeah. What about you, Cypress? How do you feel about DMPCs?
I only use them when I need them. Otherwise, they're just NPCs. The only time I tried to really run a DMPC in ages was for the Star Wars game when I had just started with you two gentlemen, because it was just there to facilitate communication with the outside world, because you were running characters that had no language skills outside of Utinis and roars,
Yeah.
as well as filling out the party so that any type of challenge could have the benefit of the extra person. Once we started introducing more PCs, I didn't need him anymore, so I excused him from the campaign. They're a necessity when they need to be. Otherwise, I'm playing everything else. I don't need an additional character sheet.
Fair. What about you, Love? How do you feel about DMPCs?
I don't really have a problem with them, and I think they kind of interesting depending on how they're used in a D&D setting. Plus, like Michael was saying, if there's not a lot of players at the table, you might need to add another.
Yeah.
So, and plus, the DM can also be very cruel and get to be attached to said character and have him die.
Yeah. I mean, leading into my perspective on it personally, I've been on a lot of. I've never been on the opposite side of it. Like I've never played in a game where I mean, I've played in games where the DM has had NPCs that they have directly controlled, but I wouldn't exactly consider any of them to be DMPCs. Personally, my definition of a DMPC is literally like a character that the DM created to basically play alongside the players with. And I have done that before. I've done the bad kind and I've done the good kind, I feel like. Uh, Basically, I agree with what you guys say. A DMPC isn't always necessary. Like in the situation you described, Michael, where you only have like two people playing, two players, and you need a healer or whatever. Sometimes you gotta have a Tia. And other times I feel like they're just not needed. Like when you have enough players, you just don't really need one. I've had pretty much in all the games that I've played, I've had at least one character that I created to either accompany the party or be around the party in some way, help the party in some way. Like Power Chord, Susanna, Glittering Gold, it was Irina to an extent. And in Deal with the Devil, it was Tia, obviously. And there's varying degrees of like influence that I had on them. Tia was basically a character that I made, but then again, there was just Shan and Michael playing at that point. Uh, so I made Tia specifically to help in that situation, even though she wasn't the most help. Uh, and Irina was a plot point effectively, and Susanna is just kind of along for the ride with you guys. Really, she's not even really. She's just kind of. Originally, I actually had her as sidekick class. I remember I asked you guys if you wanted her to be player class, and you said yeah, probably helpful or whatever. I don't really remember exactly what you guys said, but eventually I did move her over to being an actual like statted character cleric.
Sorry. I am the reason for her existence.
Well, look, yes, I remember you wanted to make basically an Angel and Abaddon, but not Angel and Abaddon. But I designed her. Either way, I feel like it's a case by case thing. The NPCs. Generally, I honestly feel like they should not be used. Generally. But yeah, case by case. Anyway, moving on to the next question, which is question number 18. And this is from a DM's point of view. What are your most memorable player characters, Michael? And the question, I'm sure you get it, but to explain further, it is when you were DMing, what is the most memorable character from your point of view as the DM that somebody else has played?
Well, I haven't run a lot of campaigns, sadly.
You don't technically have to pick from ones you've ran, technically.
Oh yeah. I think excuse me. As for memorable characters that have been in my games, I think the one I always remember is shoot. I can't remember the Bruh. Shoot. Oh well. I guess I'll shift this to my most memorable character that I always think about when I play characters is probably Oldar.
Fair. Oldar is a great example.
Yeah, he was also the first character I ever took seriously in my game. Well, not that I took seriously, but I engaged with more than just he's a set of stats on a sheet of paper,
Yeah, he was your first like actual character, I feel like.
Yeah.
Well, Gorborf was pretty close.
Yeah, I liked Gorborf, but after I got bored of him, it was pretty much a series of dead characters after that.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of characters die.
Yeah, I was a little bit too ambitious with killing people back in the day. I was tapering off though at that point.
Hmm.
There's a learning curve when you
Oh
DM
yeah.
on how brutal you need to make games. And early games, you tend to go a little heavy because you're still
Yeah.
learning.
Yeah. Honestly, I kind of feel like the pendulum for me has kind of swung in the opposite direction a little much at this point, though. I kind of feel like I'm a little bit too soft on you guys. Well, granted, it sure probably doesn't feel like that in combat, but I've never killed any of you except for that one time.
Or that other time.
Or that other time. Either way, what are your most memorable player characters, Cypress?
All right. I don't think anybody's going to be happy with my answer at this one, but it's probably going to be Bortuna and Arden.
Oh, I know.
They had a great fucking dynamic, I ain't gonna lie.
I love Chaba. I love Blumbles and Shan and B1T. But for Bortuna, it was just seeing the player literally just cutting loose and just getting into the character to such an extreme degree when he had never, as far as I am aware, had really played a game before.
Hmm.
He fell very naturally into the character, and I absolutely loved that.
Oh
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
Arden,
Bortuna, like, oh my god.
Arden was the group mom. Really,
Yeah.
but he showed a lot of his skill and ability in areas where it was just lots of people kind of disparaged him. You know, it's like, you can shoot? Yes, of course I can shoot, type of moment, you know?
Yeah.
He laid down quite a bit for the group as a whole. And his roles were very crazy. They were very high or very low.
Hmm.
But typically when it was needed to be good, he rolled really well.
Yeah, really. Like, oh my god. John has like the most min-maxed luck ever. I
He
swear.
truly does.
Um, what about you, Love? What are your most memorable player characters? I know you haven't DM'd a lot. So if you want, you can just go with what is your most memorable character that somebody else has played.
My most memorable moments is Freeman and Ovo.
Oh yay.
Fair. You want to elaborate a little bit?
Well, with Freeman, it just gave that bit of interesting chaos that I like
Hmm.
when it comes to D&D. Just an entertainment cause, and I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
And with Alvo, it's just him trying to be the balance of a. And I think my greatest moment of weakness,
Oh, you cut
Oh.
out, Love. What?
my greatest memory of weakness
Witnessing Alvo. Just what she said.
Okay.
is hold on, I need to fix something.
I don't know why. I don't know why Dan's mic does this.
That's okay.
Is the fact that he stand up to a god and was telling him to stop, basically, and that said god yeeted him across the border.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
That probably should have killed Alva, but
Oh yeah.
it was one of those moments where it was like, oh fuck, I can't just. There was a lot of moments in Glitter and Gold where I was like, well shit, they should probably die from this, but I kind of feel like it would be a little fucked up if I did kill them here. Yeah, so yeah,
If you want to get to my friends, you'll have to go through me.
I bet.
Amazing.
Just yeets him.
But yeah, as for mine, my most memorable player character, like I've DM'd a lot for you guys and for pretty much everybody that is in our group. I say a lot, but you know, it's mostly just been a few campaigns that have just ran a while. I would say my most memorable player characters are definitely Oldar and Alvo. Definitely, they were both very stand-up characters in their respective campaigns for certain. I'm really liking Dominic in Power Core. Also, Freeman. Freeman had an amazing send off. Truly, like I don't want to understate. Freeman had a lot of potential also in the campaign. Um, and I'm just really like the way Power Core is going. I really like all the characters. I'm sad that Freeman died, but I will say though, the way she died and the circumstances surrounding her death were probably like some of the greatest circumstances of a death we've ever had. Certainly, you know, hell of a
You
send off.
actively tried to talk me out of it too.
Yeah, I know. That's why I feel like I may be my pendulum is kind of swinging in the other direction a lot because I don't really want to kill you guys in game. Like I don't want to kill your players because it causes problems mainly. It's just sometimes, and that being one of those times, I didn't really want it to happen, but it would have. It ended up being a very good narrative moment. Technically, it could have been a lot worse, and it turned out very well, in my opinion. I still wish Freeman didn't die, you know. But if Freeman didn't die, we wouldn't have gotten Drazen, and Drazen is a very interesting character in his own right. So
we all love a good heroic sacrifice.
yeah, really, yeah.
She died as a hero, and she saved a lot of people for her sacrifice.
I feel like the best part about Freeman's sacrifice, her death, was that originally that's not what she had intended to do. She had intended on getting the bag to suck up the bombs, like blow up in the bag or the ethereal plane, or whatever plane bags of holding go into.
Natural.
Yeah, when it didn't work though, she committed. She was committed to saving everyone else in lieu of her own life, basically. So that's why I feel like she was one of the most memorable characters for me personally. And there are others. You guys have made some really great characters over the years. The characters that I've DM for have been pretty phenomenal. Fred is a standout, that's for sure.
The next one will be a murder hobo for you.
I feel like that question is sufficiently answered then. The next one should be relatively easier to answer, and that is, what is your favorite setting / genre to run, Michael?
I've only ran one campaign in it so far, but I absolutely adore Humblewood.
Humblewood is great. I ain't gonna lie.
I love like the Sword Coast and all that stuff, and D&D is fun to run because it's very modular. But the Humblewood setting is so charming and so up my alley that I'm definitely going to be running more games in it in the future. It's just really charming. But as for genre, let's see. I think Tolkien's like the book, the Lord of the Rings books are typically high fantasy, but I like to run my own spin on that. I like to call whimsical fantasy. Basically, fantasy that is less constrained by any kind of like rules or any kind of grimness. Of course, there'll be dark moments, but I love the whimsy that comes with like fantasy. Like in the Tolkien books, like they're a lot more whimsical than the movies, which I love the movies to death. But
yeah.
I just love fantasy being so weird and strange and magical. And I just love running that.
It's got a really big fairy tale vibe.
Yes. Like the whole fairy tale aesthetic. I love that so much. And that's how I typically run. That's what I typically like to run these days. But that's me.
What about you, Cypress? How do you? What is your favorite genre to run? Genre specific in this specific question.
Genre specific is sci-fi. I am a giant sci-fi nerd. We ran a Star Wars game. I've run Star Wars games in the past. I've really liked Shadowrun and Cyberpunk. D20 Modern. Sci-fi is my jam.
Fair enough. I also enjoy sci-fi. It's pretty cool. In this specific instance, Love, I know you may not have a particular answer for this question. So instead, what is your favorite genre to play in?
That's kind of hard to answer because I like fantasy and modern, I kind of like space, but I haven't had a flavor of it as much because other space games that have tended to never last long. Besides the one I've forever cherish in my heart from Cypress is in that ended in a really good way.
At least it ended in a good way for us. Didn't end in a good
So
way for some NPCs.
um, if
Yeah.
I have like top campaigns at the moment, um, I like Founding. I've been enjoying it. I also like, even though it's on hiatus and it has been for a while, I enjoy Sundown. I like to get to express Abaddon a lot more as a character.
hmm
And oh, crap. Hold on. And I'm enjoying Power Core and where it's going, even though there's some sad romantic story.
Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, um, my favorite genre, I don't really have one, honestly. Oh, it does say setting slash genre there technically, so it could have also said setting, but it kind of goes along with
I,
it. Uh, I like the Sword Coast a lot, but I never run it vanilla. Really, I incorporate a lot of homebrew into my games, especially in like the world. But I like all kinds of settings. I like post-apocalyptic, space, futuristic. The only ones I haven't done is modern, but that's only because I don't exactly know how to do a modern game per se. Sundown could technically be considered that, but it's also post-apocalyptic. So, you know. Were you about to say something, Cypress?
I said cop out.
Oh,
There's too many doing.
uh, it's like colors, man. I like every color. I can't just pick one. I like them all.
You're right, but obviously we play a lot of D&D. You know, we haven't played a lot of Star Wars. I have played a lot of Star Wars, but I've also played a lot of D&D. You know, so I enjoy fantasy and sci-fi. So,
Yeah.
but you said favorite
Well,
and
okay.
genre.
If I had to go, okay, favorite genre, post-apocalyptic, bar none.
There. All right.
All right. So, that was our favorite setting. So the next is our favorite system. What is your favorite system to run, Michael?
Well, I've only ran I was gonna say D20 modern. That's not what D&D is these days.
No.
I don't think so.
No.
Nah. But I like to run the typical D&D system, but I in the one shot I did for um a Disco
3.5.
Elysium, I actually kind of like that system as well, the D6 system.
Mm-hmm.
Uh but I also am a huge fan of Fantasy Flight. I'd love to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to actually run that myself. But yeah, I just really like D&D despite its inherent issues. Not a whole lot of wiggle room for failure, but I tend to that's mostly a DM thing. Like I tend to be a lot more generous with failure if players roll bad because I do the Disco Elysium thing where yeah, you failed, but something interesting happens because of that.
Yeah. Honestly, I feel like that's just the best way to do it. Really.
Hmm.
No, it's not. I don't like whenever things are well. I don't like it whenever things are just like, hey, you either do it or you don't. It's always better whenever
Hmm.
there's multiple things that could occur, even from failure, like even drawing some success from that failure or whatever. But either way, what about you, Cypress? What is your favorite system to run?
I will cop out on this one. It's really hard to narrow it down. I've played a good number of systems, and all of them have good points and bad points. So it's really hard to say, well, this system is my preferred and favorite. As of right now, I'm leaning on Fantasy Flights for Star Wars and Genesis. There's a narrative focus to the way the game is designed and set, and with the dice helping to point the direction you should be going towards for that narration really makes for a more engaging system for a number of players, in my opinion. It's not just about math and well, I didn't get a good roll, it didn't happen, so everything I just described for 2 minutes just went out the window.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the problem with D&D, when it comes to roles, is it's a very direct system. It's like I said earlier, you either do it or you don't, which you could most definitely interpret it how you will, like with degrees of failure or whatever. Similar, not exactly similar, but in a sort of parallel way to how Fantasy Flight does it, where you either succeed or you fail, but there's the advantages or disadvantages. So you either fail, but you have something good happen, or if you succeed and you have disadvantages, you do the thing, but you accidentally cause something else to happen that you weren't intending or whatever. I really wish I wish that D&D was. I wish more people ran D&D with those, like,
Mindset.
yeah, that mindset. I don't like it whenever like you're trying to do something in D&D and you just straight up don't. Like if your character has like a plus 11 to fucking sleight of hand and you roll a nat 1 and you get a 12 and the DC was 13, you shouldn't break your fucking lockpick kit when you're trying to pick the lock on the chest.
Too bad, fuckface.
Exactly. That's some of the things I had with Baldur's Gate 3 too. I fucking hate the fact that like a crit fail happens on skill checks. That's a pet peeve. I won't get into that right now, but it's stupid to say the least. What
I,
about?
I
Sorry.
I agree and disagree on that. I think that they implemented that for Baldur's Gate 3 to have a more significant event when those happened. For a video game, it works okay. For the tabletop, it does not work at all.
I mean, I personally feel like it doesn't work for the video game. You could be doing something vitally important, and just because the game decided, hey, you rolled a 1, even though your bonus is a 12, and the DC was a 7, you still fail, fucker. I hate that so much. It's so stupid. I don't like that at all. Anyway, again, I don't want to dwell on that.
There will be people out there listening to this going, wait, that's not how it works?
Yes. If anybody out here has never played D&D before, it doesn't work like that. Generally speaking, a crit fail can only happen in combat. Only in combat and only on attack rolls. Either way, I mean, again, I don't want to dwell on that again. I don't want to dwell on it. I think we answered this in the last DM podcast. If not, it might be on the list. What is your first favorite session to favorite system to either run or play in love?
Well, some of the other systems I haven't tried because learning them is where the difficulty is because my reading isn't the best and it takes me a while to get used to said system.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's gonna be any system that I'm okay with running, if I decide to DM, it would be 5e. And another factor is certain systems I don't really go with because they're missing so many player race that I like or enjoy playing.
Fair enough.
And to step in for a little bit before we move on, I would actually love to run Pathfinder. It's a lot more crunchy than D&D is, but I would love to run Pathfinder someday.
Oh yeah, I
Or
mean,
play in Pathfinder.
I want
First
to.
or second?
I would love to run Pathfinder 2e personally.
First.
I would love to run Pathfinder 2e. Like I bought all the shit for it, so I would like to run it at one point. I even made a map for it. So
Then why are we not running it?
because scheduling mainly, the death of all D&D games. So all right. Obviously my favorite system to run 5e, bar none. Haven't run anything else. I mean, as far as I know, I haven't run anything else, and that's just because I love 5e. I love to homebrew 5e. In fact, I have bent over backwards to homebrew 5e. Yeah. Uh, hello, Austin. He's in the chat.
Hello.
Yep, YOLO. All right, so moving on to the next question is, and this one's probably very simple for everyone to answer. Which do you prefer, online or in-person games, Michael?
I love for running games. I would say, I would say online because I have a greater reach of people to pull from. But to play in, I would say in person. Online is really fun as well because I've had to adapt to that over the past 4 years
Yeah.
because of a certain event.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just really like in person. There's just a touch or a flavor you miss out on whenever you don't play in person.
Oh yeah.
Online, like I said, is great. I've loved playing it online, but in person will always have a more cozy feel to it.
Yeah. What about you, Cypress? How do you feel? You prefer in-person games or online games? This is both from D&D and player perspective, obviously.
At this point in time, I prefer online. Not because that I don't like getting together with my friends. Scheduling has become a problem, but that's the curse of any DM, any player, any D&D game. But with an online, with like streaming schedules and everything nowadays, scheduling for a game is more considered and considerate.
Mhm.
True.
Not to mention, it's also easier to pull up resources when needed.
Oh yeah. On the fly, you can find anything you would, need. Um, what about you, love? Which do you prefer, online or in person?
Um, I'm okay with both. As for in person, you get together with uh people, you get to learn about them more, see their facial expressions as to what that happens to said player, well, character. But at the same time, with online, you still get to meet a lot of people
Huh.
and make friends with them and stuff.
Thank you for
But
the
it's
follow
kind
star
of,
stuff. Sorry, love.
huh? But it's it's kind of hard to like, I guess, read what the person's thinking or
Hello, horse.
whatever.
Mhm.
You mean online?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you literally can't like see their face or anything, so makes sense.
And when it comes to online, if I do it, I really do. There's also the factors of like connection issues and all the other such that can also happen.
Yeah.
Which, even though I'm getting better at it, I'm still kind of shy being with people I don't know when it comes to being online versus
Mhm.
people I've known all my life and learned about them over the years.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Okay. Uh, first and foremost, thank you for the follow and hello, star stuff. Uh, and as for me, obviously, I enjoy both. I enjoy when it comes to playing or DMing, I enjoy both. One of my favorite things to do whenever we're playing in person and I'm DMing is I love taking bribes. I ain't gonna lie, I'm corrupt as balls. If you make me a cup of coffee or something, I will give you an inspiration. I'm not gonna lie.
I still call that's unfair because
I,
I cannot get you a cup of coffee.
I'm sorry. It's the thought that counts. I know you would if you could.
You
But
weren't
yeah.
my inspiration, damn it.
um, Yeah, for anybody well, for everybody pretty much, because I'm sure nobody knows this. Never been said. We actually run inspiration differently. At least me and Michael do. Uh, what we do is we give out these things called inspiration tokens, which is basically like, hey, I just rolled a fucking nat 1 on this attack roll, and we're all gonna fucking die. Can I re-roll that? yeah, sure, just use your inspiration, and you roll again and you roll a 2. At least it's not a 1, but at least you got to re-roll and see what would happen. And we basically
Mhm.
award these out. Everybody gets one at the start of a game or what have you. We basically hand these out for like cool RP moments or just whatever the DM cares for. Sometimes it's bribes, yeah, it,
Mostly pride.
mostly bribes. Either way, moving on to the next question. What are your thoughts on homebrew, Michael, specifically? First off.
Honestly, as long as it's not, I want to play a Saiyan in the D&D world kind of homebrew, then I'm totally fine with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, as long as it's not something really broken or really ridiculously out of place in the world. Unless it has an amazing explanation, I'm fine with homebrew.
Fair.
Huh.
Yeah.
I guess I just gotta make sure to make the best explanations for my homebrew.
What about you, Cypress?
I don't do a lot of homebrew. I basically stick to something that's published, and nothing wrong with that. I don't mind homebrew. I've made my own homebrew type items, but it's mostly as a DM. Because what's the player going to say? You know?
Yeah, like, oh no, I don't want this tailor-made item. What the fuck? I would rather have, literally a drift globe, I guess.
There's perspectives for drift globe in every system you use. If you're walking through the sands of the desert, the drift globe's not going to do you a whole lot. You're wandering through Barovia, it's your life send. You know?
Well, yeah, I mean, generally speaking, a drift globe could be useful in most situations, but I would still take a tailor-made item over it, probably.
As far as players bringing homebrew to me, I'm gonna read it over and look it over before I say yay or nay.
Fair.
Nobody's given me too much crap about that yet, so.
Yeah.
To bounce off what Star Stuff said, GURPS. I would really love to run and play in GURPS someday. But yeah, GURPS is really cool.
I've heard good things about GURPS. I don't know anything about it, but I've heard good things about it.
Oh
I
yeah, it's
mean,
really cool.
they based the Fallout special system off of it.
Really?
Mhm.
Wow, I didn't
I
know that.
did.
Holy shit.
It was actually going to be in the GURPS system before they were told they couldn't do it.
Oh wow.
Then they had to
Imagine,
make the special
Bruh.
system.
can imagine how different like Fallout and even GURPS would be if they had allowed that.
I
Mhm.
think
Now,
GURPS is kind of kicking themselves in the ass over that one.
probably, yeah.
Yeah.
But what about you, love?
For me, I'm okay with homebrew as long as it's not very overpowering and it's been tested. But like it stated before, when it comes to scheduling and whatnot, it's kind of hard to test said homebrew. So what I've been doing lately, since I'm not a person for one shots because I get attached to said character when I make them, I've basically been trying them out in games that allow it.
Fair. Well, personally, uh, I have several dozen homebrews. I'm literally running well, I'm basically running. Okay, basically every game that I run is homebrew. Sure, I'm using the Sword Coast for Power Core, but like, come on. You're on a homebrew. You're on an island that I made. I homebrewed. You're in a boat that is not in D&D normally. It's homebrew. Sundown entirely homebrew. So yeah, I'm a big fan of homebrew. Generally speaking, I'm pretty cool with it. I like it when players like to, make up their own stuff. They express themselves or what have you. I like making stuff for the players to use. It's just really fun,
Mhm.
That's one of the main reasons why I like 5th edition, because it can be like Play-Doh'd into whatever you want it to be effectively, and it doesn't. It may not work perfectly 100% of the time, but hell, it works well enough. I feel like.
Mhm.
But yeah,
60% of the time, it works every time.
yeah.
Mhm.
All right,
Uh,
now. Sorry.
Before the next question, speaking of, uh, eventually I should probably try my other homebrew races because I haven't really played him as much as QB and
Fairy.
Fairy.
Yeah.
which
Mhm.
which is only homebrew for 5e. It was an actual race in third.
Yep.
Mhm.
There's a lot of elves in third edition though, like a lot of elves. So many elves. Oops, all
Oh
elves.
yeah.
Basically.
I just wish they would bring it back. They wouldn't probably be as much homebrew.
I suppose then we should probably move on to the next question, which is where the fuck are we? Do you run modules, and if so, why? Michael.
Mhm. I have never run a module. Excuse me. I've never run a module. I've never really considered running one, but I would not be opposed to trying one because they're really handy. Even if you don't use them wholeheartedly, they could be good jumping off points. But I would recommend them for new DMs unless they're really, really dead set on using a setting they've cooked up before they started playing D&D, something like that.
I think it also hinges heavily on how familiar they are with D&D.
Oh yeah, that as well.
I tried running a module whenever I first started DMing, and I had no idea how it worked.
Oh yeah,
I
that
thought it
too.
was literally like a guidebook, like a cookbook, like, oh, you do this first, then this, and then this. But no, it's not.
No.
It's not like that at all.
Yeah, I don't know. I would be open to running a module one day, but I'll stick with what making up my own stuff around different settings and the like.
Yeah. What the hell? What about you, Cypress? I know you have I already know the answer to this question, basically, but yeah, what about you, Cypress?
Well, I've run modules in the past. I've run homebrews in the past. I'm running a modified module now. So I mean, I I disagree with some of the aspects that you guys had presented with the easiness that modules can be run. If you're taking a full book like Curse of Strahd or Tomb of Annihilation, those will be a little bit more difficult to run.
Mhm.
Curse of Strahd more so than Tomb of Annihilation. Tomb of Annihilation is once you get past a certain point, it's very straightforward because you're running a dungeon.
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
that
Curse
one's
of
easy.
Strahd's an entire region. You know, players can go where they choose and feel like. So there's some discombobulation. So reading it front to back doesn't work, as you can attest.
Yeah.
Which is why I point people more towards things like Tales from the Yawning Portal, Candlekeep Mysteries, self-contained one-shot style adventures for anybody learning the system.
I tried whenever I first started. I tried running Lost Mine of Fandelver. Apparently that is actually not. Apparently a lot of people don't like Lost Mine of Fandelver for whatever reason.
That's why they changed it.
Yeah, that's why they changed it. I'm pretty sure the new starter D&D thing is was it what is it? Not
Shipwreck.
Icewind Dale. Oh, it is. It's Tales of
No, it's
Stormwreck Isle.
Shipwreck. Tales of Stormbreak Isle, yeah.
I thought it was something else. I thought it was the one that we did. I thought it was Icespire Peak.
Hmm.
Either way, it doesn't matter.
No.
What about you, Love? I mean, I know you haven't really run any modules. Do you enjoy playing in modules?
I say if the lore of the module is. I think I cut out again. I would say the lore of the module is interesting enough. I say I see myself playing in
Mm-hmm.
because if I think about it, when it comes to DM, as long as the module has certain things and you either change it up just a little bit or make the rewards more interesting, I think that's what makes the interest of the said module to be playable.
Yeah.
It
Mhm.
is Dragons of Stormwreck Isle.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I'm pretty sure that one. I've never played it. I think Jelly and them were playing it at some point. I'm not sure,
Nice.
but it seemed interesting enough. What little I know of it.
I'm sorry. One module I would love to see adapted into 5th edition, which I don't know if it'll happen because it needs some changes because of 80s. I would love to see Dark Sun have a 5th edition conversion.
Is
I
that the
think that'd
one?
be really cool.
What's Dark
Yeah,
Sun
lots.
exactly? I don't know what that is.
Dark Sun is the post-apocalyptic D&D campaign. Very environmental, hostile, slavery, lots of dark tones to it.
Hmm.
Think Mad Max and D&D.
Is that the one with meat pies?
No, that's the Apocalypse Stone.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. Yeah.
I'd
Well,
love to see that get adapted as well.
honestly, yeah. I have never. I've attempted to run a module before. It was all right. I mean, well, I say that twice. Uh, I've attempted to run Lost Mine of Fandelver multiple times actually. The first time I did it, it was a train wreck. Didn't know what I was doing. Didn't know how to read a module. Didn't know how to run a module. Second time I did it, it was all right. It was going well enough. Shit happens. Game fell through
Mhm.
effectively. It was fun enough while it was there, I guess. I have no real strong opinions on modules. I prefer like homemade games, like I prefer, whenever a DM puts their all into it, makes it their own, like if they're gonna run a module, they make it their module.
Mhm.
But yeah, no strong feelings either way. Um,
I mean, that's what I'm doing now. So
yeah, exactly. Like yours, we didn't even know it was fucking Curse of Straw technically ish until like what session 9, 10, something like that.
yeah, it was in the teens.
Yeah,
Because I didn't start there, you know.
Yeah. All
yeah,
right.
it's
So,
really good.
suppose we should see. Move on to the next question, which is
24.
yeah. What is your favorite type of game to run and why? I'm not exactly sure what that means. I think we may have already
Yeah,
answered that question.
I was actually about to ask, what do you mean by that, sir?
Yeah.
Well, let me put this in there then for this particular question. I prefer my games to be a little bit more serious and brooding, although I had a blast with Star Wars, which was much more hectic and comedic.
Oh yeah. um, let's see. We could fuse it with the genre question, which
Yeah.
is 25 or the tone.
Yeah. So 24 and 25 should have been the same one.
Yeah. Just mix them together.
Yeah, we'll just mix them together. Typically in games I run, they're very. You can attest to this, Rocky. They tend to be more lighthearted, whimsical. But I also love me some good horror.
It's
I
fair.
love to incorporate horror into my games. So I would say I run more lighthearted games, but it's like an episode of Courage the Cowardly Dog, basically, with my campaigns or my games in general. They're very lighthearted, but they can take a sudden turn of horror because I'm a huge fan of that.
Honestly, I'm feeling more like the Scooby Doo kind of vibe.
Ah, there you go.
Description.
Yes, there you go. That's a really good way to describe it. But yeah, that's me.
What about you, Cypress?
Well, I kind of like my games kind of more serious in tone, but I really enjoyed Star Wars, which had more of a comedic style to it.
Yeah, exactly. I know, right? Well, what about you, love? I mean, I know you never necessarily DM'd any games, but what do you prefer to play in? Do you prefer serious style games, horror games,
Uh,
silly games?
for me, it's more like I love the horror, the comedic, and the seriousness of certain games. But at the same time, I like the fantasy and the mystery that can be in them.
Mm-hmm.
Mystery and lore are like my top favorites, along with horror,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what I enjoy about it. But the comedic, oh my god, there's so many funny moments that I love.
Oh yeah, we have funny moments in like pretty much all of our games.
I mean,
Uh,
you don't want a completely serious game without any type of moments of levity. Then it just becomes a drag to play.
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
I feel like for myself, I can take it or leave it. I ain't gonna lie. I'm fine with the game being silly, but I don't like a game to be too silly, which I feel like Star Wars was a bit of the exception to the rule in that case. It was very fun, and it was very silly, but we weren't like a joke. You know what I mean? We were goofy, but we were like also the most badass team the Rebels had. So,
That no one wanted to acknowledge.
exactly. We were so effective that we were like the Black Ops of the Rebels, but we were so fucking stupid that they didn't want to admit that their most effective group were a bunch of fucking goofballs. Yeah, so fair enough, I suppose. I definitely prefer more serious games. I play a lot of characters that are incredibly emotionally damaged. I don't know what's wrong with me. I just really enjoy that. I don't know why. In fact, the backstory for the character that I'm playing as currently on stream is terrible, horrible. Even I can't even say what it. I can't even talk about it. Either way, I like serious games. When I run games, I like to have stakes. I like for the character's actions to have weight. I like for moments to be bombastic, but also like I like it whenever there's really solemn moments. Also, like I feel like a good example of that is whenever you guys went back to Cleo's Lagoon, saw it burning, and you only managed to rescue 2 people and lost 2 people on your ship. Also, I feel like I feel like moments like that where it's like you're just sort of sitting there. You you got 1 step forward, but you also got sent 2 steps back, and it's just like you sit there to reflect. You know, they need to be impactful, but they don't need to be numerous. It just feels it gives you feels. I would hope that that gave you guys feels, but yeah.
I mean, it led to the point of introduction for my current character after Freeman.
Yeah, Drazen. Yeah.
And it led up to my character becoming captain of the ship.
Well, let's see. I suppose that's enough for that question or that pairing of questions. Let's see. Where are we now? Yeah. All
What is
right.
your favorite monster and why?
Yeah. What is your favorite monster, Michael?
I would have to say first year student from Strixhaven. No. But as much of I really love the undead monsters like ghouls and the like, and the monster manual, like the creepy shit.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I haven't really had a chance to run those, but no, I love. I think that's one problem I have with fifth edition. This is a small little tangent, but I think passive perception can kind of hamper horror sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, when you're trying to have a monster be sneaky and such. Someone's like, I have a 20 passive perception. What do you mean I don't see it?
Exactly.
That kind of thing.
Well, I rolled stealth for the monster and it rolled a 24, so you don't see it.
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, I love the more fucked up monsters in the monster manual. I can't really give a specific answer, but I guess I would have to say ghouls because I'm generic.
Fair enough. What about you, Cypress? What's your favorite monster?
This is genuinely one of the hardest questions on this list for me. Much like my movie selection and song selection, I don't really have the ability to narrow it down to a single thing or creature or anything. I like so many flavors of so many different things that's really hard to narrow it down. There's nothing wrong with a good classic dragon. There is something to be said for a named boss like Strahd or the Lord of Blades. And giants. Giants just seem underutilized.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, they really are in 5th edition, I feel like.
Mind flayers are a classic. They are the unspeakable horrors that somebody can point to and go, that is something that I would not want to encounter.
Yeah, honestly. Not at all.
Baldur's Gate did a good job
Yeah,
of
they did.
really demonstrating why an illithid, a mind flayer, is a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. And it's like I said when the game came out, I feel like we're going to be seeing a lot more mind flayers and such in future campaigns from new DMs,
Probably, yeah. That
which
this
isn't a
is
bad thing. It's really cool.
this is like the I don't know what the name of the character was. I think it was Drizzt. This is like the Drizzt of this generation's DMs.
Trizdor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There'll be like millions of Mind Flayer, like BBEGs or whatever in the future.
Yeah, speaking of Drizzt, this is a little side tangent again. I am so sad they don't have Drizzt in Baldur's Gate 3, or at least a reference to him.
It's weird that they don't. I don't think it's
I
supposed to
think-
be that far away from like what Baldur's Gate 2.
Mm-hmm.
So a little weird, huh?
Well, I mean, Minsk. Minsk and Boo are in the game, which are in the two previous, Baldur's Gate games as well. So it can't be that far off timeline wise,
Yeah.
unless he's immortal.
There's an explanation for it, but I won't spoil it. I won't spoil it.
Can confirm cave-ins kill you instantly on Vintage Store.
Oof.
They straight up fucking annihilate you.
Oof.
We got a death on camera.
Yeah, like for
Nice.
real. We really did. Worst part about this is I don't think I can light my fire back. No,
But
it's,
Shan, how about your favorite monster?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Republicans.
Oh my god.
Sorry, they're not my favorite, but they are good. They are a good monster.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not talking like a general individual person. I'm talking like the general party.
The collective.
If I have like a favorite monster, I would say something that you don't really get to see much in D&D because sometimes it depends on the level of the character. Or werebeast.
Like Anthros.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like a
And
ghost.
if I were to have a second one, I would say the creatures of the supernatural.
Like ghosts and shit.
Mhm.
Yeah. Some
Fair.
you don't really encounter too much in D&D.
Fair.
Mhm.
I would say for mine, and mine isn't necessarily it's not necessarily one creature, but I suppose it would be a classification of them. And mine is very similar to Michael's. Personally, I really love zombies. And I'm not even saying that just because, ooh, they're scary and they're fun to kill. Zombies can be incredibly useful for making like a narrative or writing a character's story without ever having them say anything or even being alive. I used zombies a lot in Deal with the Devil, and I feel like a lot of the zombies that I did use, even though they were fodder enemies and were easily killed, were very memorable. There were a lot of situations where the party just annihilated them, and that was it, and you never saw them again. But who that zombie was, what they were after they became that, and what have you, is something that lingers in your head. You
Mhm.
see, there. Unfortunately, I have a penchant for pulling pulling things in the whole child murder direction.
Child zombies.
Yeah, there were a lot of unfortunately a lot of children that died in Deal with the Devil, and there was a plot reason why. It wasn't just because I like killing kids. Um, it was pretty eventful, and I feel like you can do a lot with zombies that you can't do with other creatures because of just how flexible they are. I feel like a group of zombies is like a blank canvas. They have so many possibilities. So, that's mine.
Mhm.
Well, there is a particular domain of dread that it revolves around zombies, and I made fine use of that
Oh,
in the second part of my in life campaign.
that
Um,
sounds cool as hell.
Mhm.
the interesting fact of why there were so many zombies, because there was a necromancer that was involved with my character.
She was a lich, actually.
Well, lich. I couldn't remember. It's been that long.
Yeah, I mean you're not
Mhm.
wrong. She was a necromancer, but she was powerful enough to be considered a lich.
Lich bitch.
Yeah. I won't go into the story of it, but I liked the way it went out. It was interesting. Either way,
Mm-hmm.
we should probably move on to the next question, I guess, right? What is the next question?
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on
Alignments.
alignments?
Yeah, what are your thoughts on alignments, Michael?
Alignments can be a very, very interesting tool for both the world that you make and for the players to utilize. And I really do like them. Like, there were settings like Planescape, which were basically built around the alignment system that I really wish 5th edition would also bring in, but you know. Alignments are really cool when they're not used as a straitjacket for players' actions. Like, of course, when a player puts their lawful good on their sheet and they go around butchering poor little orphans, they're like, oh, and the DM can step in and be like, hey, that's your character probably wouldn't do that, Mr. Lawful Good. But yeah, when it's used as a straitjacket to restrict roleplay, it can be annoying. But for me, I really like working within my alignment because I think what made this character lean this way, like what made them chaotic good, what led up to their life, what happened in their life to lead up to them having this philosophy. And I really enjoy working within the bounds of alignments, but I can really easily see why people hate them and ban them from their games because they can be a pain in the ass if done wrong.
Oh yeah.
Looking at chaotic neutral in particular, but chaotic neutral can be done really well. So I'm not going to bludgeon chaotic neutral for that. So and that's my stance on it.
Cypress?
I think the alignment chart as it stands is pretty much antiquated. It's was used to help define the system in previous generations in order to help guide people along particular paths, clerics and paladins especially. One of the things I really liked about what they did with 5th edition was they broke from that requirement. You know, for paladins, it's now about the oath, not about the alignment. Clerics are following the god, so they should be following the tenets of the god regardless, whether it's lawful good or chaotic evil. I think it was an unnecessary restriction that a lot of players put themselves into if they were trying to play the game. And it's unnecessary at this point in time. I like the adoption of the personality traits, the flaws, and the bonds. It's a good way of describing more about how to guide your character than 1 square on a 9 square box. That being said, I've played with the system for so long that it's ingrained in me to use it.
Speaking of, sorry.
I think we're better off without it. Continue.
Speaking of alignments, one of my favorite things to imagine. So going back to Werebeast, what Sham mentioned, I love how werebears are listed as lawful good. I like to imagine when someone goes feral as a fucking werebear, there's like, must help old ladies,
Yeah, honestly. That's pretty legit.
must obey traffic laws.
Only you can prevent forest fires.
There you go.
Smokey the werebear. That's great.
Okay, that's going in game. That's going in game. Smokey the werebear.
Oh, that's phenomenal. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're gonna say Shan.
Yeah, go ahead. What about you, love? Get out of here, you fucking drifter. Fuck off.
Like I said before, if alignment's played right, is when I don't mind it. For me, in my personal experience, I always go, if none of my characters probably are not chaotic neutral, I usually go for that route because it's easier to remember than any other alignment.
Just play neutral.
Slap Cypress with fish. I don't want to be neutral. That's too normal.
Actually, I would say chaotic neutral is more normal than neutral at this point. More people play chaotic neutral than they do anything else.
But
I can agree.
I guess an example I can use for this involving one of my current characters that we'd be coming back in a mini campaign is Abaddon, because in his old life he was a good fellow. He used to be an elf, but his storyline went down a dark path when he lost his sister and he made a deal with the devil, which turned him into an incubus. And for a long time, he has been doing evil. He has been taking souls of. I wouldn't say they're innocent because they made deals beforehand, and their uh, due date came in and their number was punched, basically.
Mm-hmm.
But since his new life in a world that he doesn't really belong to, uh, he's kind of changed, but he's not particularly good, nor is he particularly bad.
He's still pretty bad.
Yeah.
I honestly feel like I agree with Cypress. It's pretty at least the 3x3 alignment chart is very antiquated. It's way too simple, honestly, in my opinion. The 5x5 is significantly better, but honestly, I feel like a seasoned D&D player doesn't need an alignment chart to know how to play their character.
Oh yeah.
Now, like, you might want to break it out for somebody that's new and be like, hey, it's not necessarily relevant for you to need this, but if you want to play your character and you want to stay within a specific like moral compass, you should probably use this and be like, hey, would my character who is supposed to be chaotic good burn down this building full of kittens? And they'd be like, yeah, probably not.
Well, it depends. They're chaotic good. There might be a good reason to do so.
Well, I was gonna say
Kittens are a front or for a demon cult. You know, the succubuses are flying out at night. You burn the orphanage down.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, like, granted, for chaotic good, they may be like, oh, there's like a drug den in there, and they just have a bunch of cats for whatever reason. And it's like, well, I guess they should just blow up the building, I suppose.
They blew up the cargo robot, and the cargo was kittens.
Oh no.
But yeah, it's got its flaws, but a lot of things.
Oh, yeah.
Do that. It's part of it's kind of like the creation engine from like Bethesda. These are bones from like older systems that are still there, mainly just because they're there. That's pretty much it. If they take them out, well,
Somebody will complain.
yeah, somebody will definitely complain.
Oh yeah. And going back to chaotic neutral real quick, I can see why it's such an appealing alignment for adventurers, because in my head, when I imagine an adventurer, it's someone who upends their life to go wandering the countryside to slay monsters, usually for money. So I can see why it's a very appealing alignment, because it's just, I want to be free.
Accurate, honestly.
But before we move on, aside from me dissing alignment languages, because I'm so glad they're gone, I want to read a brief description of the chaotic neutral alignment as described by the second edition book, which I have right here. Chaotic neutral characters believe that there is no order to anything, including their own actions. With this as a guiding principle, they tend to follow whatever whim strikes them at the moment. Good and evil are irrelevant when making a decision. Chaotic neutral characters are extremely difficult to deal with.
Fair.
Such characters have been known to cheerfully and for no apparent purpose gamble away everything they have on the roll of a single die. They are almost completely unreliable. You can see why the perspective has changed on alignments.
Very much.
Because back then, yeah, it was not great. Like, true neutral characters had to follow a fucking graph of balance.
That's, again, why it was so good when they started sliding away from that. Third edition stepped away from the second edition's rigidness, except for a couple of classes, Paladin and Cleric. more specifically.
Oh yeah.
Again, glad we're sliding away from it, but it's good for descripting. Like I said, I
Yes.
think the personality traits, bonds, flaws, and all that are much better outlined for a character than a single box.
Mm-hmm. And I
Well,
feel like with the, sorry, you saying, Ricky?
nah, you go ahead.
Sorry, I keep going on tangents, but the whole argument some people make, like there's no such thing as absolute evil, that may be true in real life, kinda, but in D&D there is such a thing as absolute evil. They're called demons and devils.
And Mitch McConnell exists, so
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. Either way.
Moving
I
on.
will point back to my previous comment about Republicans.
Yes.
Yes, Austin. I mean, bitch, Mitch, or Lich McConnell. Either way.
Mitch McConnell.
Yes, Lich
Lich
McConnell,
McConnell.
because he won't fucking die. Anyway, where are we at now? Let's see.
Metagaming.
What number?
28.
Yeah. So do you tolerate metagaming, and if so, how much do you tolerate it, Michael?
That's a tricky question. For me, anyway. I can tolerate it up to a certain point. But if someone is relaying information, like if someone was like, "Oh, what happened in that room?" Like you wouldn't know because you weren't there. I'm sorry. Like your
Exactly.
character wasn't there.
Yeah.
I can tolerate it to a certain point. If it's for something minor, like, "Oh, how much gold did you just get?" Like they're like basically doing inventory. That's when it's fine. But if it's like someone trying to get information or using information they would not have to change their action, that's when it's no bueno. Like if they don't do something because they know someone's lurking behind a corner because another player saw them but hasn't said anything yet, that kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Well, what about you, Cybers?
I really only had one instance where I can point back where somebody has truly metagamed. Where they were using knowledge about a creature, before they had been introduced to the creature as a character.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but I mean, there's lots of not character, player knowledge that kind of leaks into every character, so it's hard to really know what's what sometimes. But if I've ever viewed something as, well, I don't think your character would know that, roll me a check for it. You guys have been appropriate and just rolled me the check because well, you might have heard about it in passing, you might have heard about it in depth, you might have researched it, or maybe you literally just have no clue. And that's how I can help you separate the meta from the end game.
Yeah. Personally, that's how I feel about it. Well, I mean, not metagaming, but in this specific situation, it's like if the DM asks you, hey, like, you as a player may know what this is, but your character is like, what the fuck is a troll? Like if your DM is like, yeah, no, you've never seen one of those before in your life. You don't know that they're weak to fire either. So,
Exactly. But depending, on the situation, maybe they've heard about it in passing. Maybe there was just conversation about it at the pub one night, and this is just triggered in the memory. That's why the check is, X, and you succeeded on it.
Yeah.
The things like that I can kind of let slide because there's a possible in-game explanation as to why.
Yeah.
We've encountered that.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like every character in Founding has had some knowledge on some obscure thing in some way or another, just because we are relatively either well-read or well-traveled people.
Mm-hmm.
So, what about you, Love? How do you feel about metagaming?
It's basically what you all say so far. As a player, I'm trying to get better at not falling into doing that.
Mm-hmm.
I have habits of doing it not on purpose or anything, but more like I forget that didn't occur with my character.
Mm-hmm.
I hate my brain sometimes. But I love the fact that when it comes to metagaming and the DM's like pressing X for doubt and saying, hey, you should roll to make sure if you do know this.
Hmm.
But yeah, I I'm getting better as a player, but it's kind of hard to remember what your character knows and what your character doesn't know.
Mm-hmm.
That's my
Hmm.
struggles with it.
I
Generally,
would.
sorry.
I apologize. I only want to piggyback on her thought on that. I will be fine with anybody's giving me a well thought out argument explanation as to why they should have the knowledge versus why they wouldn't. I can agree.
Hmm.
I can disagree. We'll deal with it as the situation comes up. But she's right.
Hmm.
Um, honestly, my opinion on it, I don't really. When it comes to metagaming at the table, obviously, like looking up a monster's HP and shit and weaknesses and shit is frowned upon heavily. Like if you're doing it as a player, looking it up, you're cheating. That's cheating. That's actually what that is. It's
Hmm.
cheating. But that's not even necessarily the metagaming that I have the most issue with. It's a problem, but it's not really the problem that I see metagaming, the worst kind of metagaming as, in my opinion. And unfortunately, the worst kind of metagaming, in my opinion, isn't even conscious metagaming. It's whenever you, as a player, know something, and like for example, you're fighting. I don't know what's a good example of this. We'll go with like a black pudding or whatever. And as a player, that if you're hit by that, it it'll damage your equipment. Like your shit's gonna get broken. Like you as a player know that, but like the character obviously doesn't know what a fucking black pudding is. So you
Hmm.
intentionally, like you try not to, but you either way you still intentionally avoid getting hit by it as much as possible. Like even
Hmm.
if you're like a barbarian or what have you. Like you know that if you get hit by that, your precious stuff is going to get broken. Or I suppose another example of that, or better one example, combat is not necessarily the biggest issue. It's whenever there's like a narrative thing. Whereas, like what Sham was saying earlier, like if you're, well, like literally all of you were saying, where like something has happened that could involve your character, but it wasn't known to your character, so you try and not have it influence your actions, but
Hmm.
like obviously not having it influence your actions is a bad idea because it's like you're literally doing the opposite of what is convenient at the time, which it's like I'm saying, it's not active metagaming. It's not like you're doing it maliciously. It's just like, well, if I do this, it's definitely not going to be ideal, but I can't not do it because if I don't do it, then it's metagaming. Yeah.
Metagaming is a
Hmm.
weird line sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's some of it has to be just acknowledged as it's going to happen. Unfortunately, it's impossible to avoid.
Hmm. Speaking of things that destroy equipment, when was the last time you saw a rust monster?
I don't think I've ever encountered a rust monster personally, like literally ever.
I
I
think I
know it
used it at
exists.
my first one shot, and that's the only time I've ever seen one.
Maybe,
Oh,
yeah.
It doesn't have the same fear because it doesn't affect magical weapons. At some point, it just becomes a nuisance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
uh,
You throw one of those at a level 1 fighter, though, he's gonna shit his britches.
Mm-hmm.
I remember we actually have, I think, either in Quentin's game or Logan's game. It's been that long ago, but I remember encountering them before.
Hmm.
Either way. Let's see. Where are we at now? 29.
29.
What is a game that you would like to run? I don't exactly know entirely what that means. I suppose, what is the next campaign idea? What is fresh in your mind? What's something that you would like to run? Like, if you could, if you had the time, if you had the thing set up, what would you run next, Michael?
Well, I'm gonna say two answers. I'm mostly talking about systems here. There's two very different systems I'd love to run. One is Vampire the Masquerade, I want to run or play in Vampire the Masquerade so bad because I fucking love it. Because even though I've never played it, actually, there's 3. 2 is Call of Cthulhu. I would love to run Call of Cthulhu. It's so much fucking fun and it's so scary. And 3rd is My Little Pony: Tales of Equestria.
Fair.
Those are my 3 games I'd love to run.
Didn't we play a session of that once? That one shot?
Yes, you did. It was pretty fun.
Yeah, pretty fun. I had a good time.
Yeah.
I
It was
kept
great.
trying to gaslight people in the game. I don't know why.
Yeah, that's another thing in Humblewood too. A lot of gaslighting.
Well, I mean, I'm just complacent in the gaslighting in that game. In fact, I honestly kind of feel like Axel is being gaslit by himself and by Charlie to some extent. Hell, I think Charlie's even gaslighting himself too, to some extent.
Oh yeah,
It's really funny. We're starting to get so into our bullshit that we're starting to believe it ourselves. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
It's great. Having a good time.
It is amazing.
What about you, Cypress? If you had a game that you would love to run, if you could, that isn't founding, what would it be?
I've got a few things in the fire, basically just kind of sitting and brewing. I love the D20 Modern system. I've still got a game kind of brewing for that, and percolating in the back of the head. I picked up the Avatar RPG. I really want to run that.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool.
Just gotta find the time to sit down and really run it. I have picked up numerous books for 5th edition. I still want to run the Tomb of Annihilation. I have the book for it. I want to run it. Just time and efforts have always been kind of astray. I've got, Eberron's book, The Explorer's Guide to Wildmount. I've got all kinds of places I can go. And I just keep fucking going back to Barovia.
Every time I think I'm out, it pulls me back in.
Pretty much. But I can genuinely say when it comes to the actual settings and everything, Barovia as a whole is just an amazing setting and place. And I'm not just running the straight book. I did that once, and it was fun. And then I built a second campaign off of what happened after that first campaign. And now I'm running Founding, which is using the bones of Barovia.
Mm-hmm.
Just that chunk of world in general is well thought out, well put together, and it's got so many amazing story beats that you can pull out of it that I'm just fascinated with it. I completely went off topic. I apologize.
No, it's
Nah, you're
okay.
fine.
I want to play more.
I want to play more too, but what about you, love?
Well, if I think about it, there's one campaign that I've created in my head that I would run or have someone else run if I get some form of enjoyment out of it. What it evolved in, the name of it was the Return of the Fairy. Because, they were an extinct race, might as well been, because they only came out at 3.5 and never came back again.
Which is so sad.
It wasn't just involvement in them, because there was some lore behind it, some horror with it. But one of the things that the players were going to go was an island I made up that was made for dragons. And a silver and red dragon were asking the party for help to locate. And that's before the whole knowing of enemies and whatnot when it comes to dragons, because I didn't really read up on that kind of lore. To help locate the missing eggs from all the families that were stolen from, even their own.
Mm-hmm.
But I can never brought it to light, and I kind of stopped.
DMing is hard.
Oh
Yeah. If it comes to another campaign, if I have some sort of idea, a mystery horror based is
Mhm.
something else I'd be interested in playing.
Mhm.
Personally, I want to run Sundown. Bad. Really bad.
Oh yeah.
I
Don't
love
let your dreams be dreams.
it's the problem with Sundown is it's a different type of game. It's both it's an exploration sandbox game with a lot of like I don't even know what kind of elements it would be. What would you consider that? Like resource management, I guess? Elements?
I'd say survival.
Well, it has a lot of survival elements too, but like the whole like Survey Corps headquarters is like a very involved system too. Like there's research, there's fucking money, etc., etc. But I really want to run Sundown.
Oh
I mean, I
yeah.
wouldn't be opposed to running a few Sundown expeditions with the guys from In the Spider's Web if they were interested. But that's for a discussion for another day. Yeah.
On the topic of games like D&D games I'd love to run. There's one I had on the back burner that I was going to do, a one shot, but I couldn't think of how to do it properly, I guess. But with more time to think, I would love to run a game where the players are playing evil characters, but they're under the tutelage of a gold dragon. And the gold dragon is sending them on redemption quests to help reform them because he saved them from execution
Yeah.
and he believes they can change.
Oh yeah, that'd be pretty
It
cool.
sounds like a campaign to bring Abaddon back into.
Basically, you would be under the tutelage of Uncle Iroh.
Oh no, Uncle nah, I like Uncle Iroh. He's one of my favorites.
Yes.
Before going to the next question, if the campaign of the Avatar became a thing, would they be like other races? Because if so, I want to be a fire-bending elf who was thrown out of his village because he wants to help the Avatar.
It probably not, simply for the fact of Avatar is very there's only humans kind of a thing.
Lame.
But there's always I'm still talking. There's always the fact that the core era introduces spirits.
Spirit.
Fair enough. Well, on that note, let's see. What's the next question? We're almost done, actually. What are some game decisions that you have made that you regret, Michael?
As a player, anything that results in a character going unconscious. Like anything I do that leaves another player open to being hurt. I always regret that.
Fair.
And that's of course there's some moral decisions that what's the big one where I played my only evil character where I tortured that poor
Thing?
guy. Yeah.
Yeah. What about that time whenever you threw that cantaloupe and it blew up?
That was accidental.
Yeah, I mean, you didn't know it was gonna blow up. Good time.
It was great. But yeah, anything that results in another player's enjoyment being hampered, where I regret. Really.
Fair.
But
What about
that's
as a DM?
Oh, as a TM, honestly, I can't really think of anything I've done that I really regret. Because I don't really constrict my players. I'm a very rules loose DM. I don't like constricting players' creativity a lot. But of course, the rules are there for a reason. But if it's not fun, why bother?
Fair enough.
That kind of thing.
Fair enough. What about you, Cypress? Anything that you regret as a player or DM or both?
That's about everything in my teens.
Aww.
We don't know about that, so give us an example we do know.
Regret as a DM is probably allowing you guys to chop up a Sith Inquisitor.
That's fair. I mean, we ate him too. I feel like which was worse, the eating him
And then,
thing or the?
and then ground his skull into dust, and it got everywhere. And Yeah.
Sith lung cancer.
We
yeah,
got so haunted by that.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
We got like super haunted. And I'll
You
tell you,
know,
the grinding thing wasn't even my fault. I didn't do that.
I know it wasn't your fault. I know it wasn't your fault, but I'm going with it as best I can because I'm sitting here going, why would you put a fucking skull on a gun? All right, we're getting rid of it. No, he welded it in place. All right, we're gonna deal with this. That's my biggest regret, simply because it took away a player agency type of a thing, and I don't like doing that. But it's just like I'm trying to have some serious Star Wars right now, and you're fucking cannibalizing things again.
Suffers will forever have nightmares.
It was pretty funny. I thought it was funny.
Yeah.
What about
I
you?
know, but
Lo?
like I said, removing the agency thing was where I was having an issue with.
Yeah, are you talking about like where like okay, which part is removing the player's agency? Was it basically getting rid of the skull, or was it not eating the Sith Inquisitor?
You
or-
wanted the skull.
Well,
Yeah. Yeah, I do regret that.
It was very much a player conflict that had results in game with the characters. You know,
yeah,
that's
Mhm.
where I had the issue.
fair enough. What about you, Love? You got any decisions you made as a player or DM that you regret?
Hmm.
No regrets.
No regrets.
I'm thinking. I know there's probably a lot of things that I regret. I think one of the things is I regret not being a better character of my acting.
Hmm.
I want that hot dog and I want to smack someone with it. But um, I think another thing is I guess a regret of like when it comes to roles and it brings you down as a character is a regret of thinking of what you could have done during a terrible situation, how to stop it or fix it.
Uh, are you saying you regret how you feel when you roll poorly? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
I don't know. That technically counts. Really, it's up that.
But like I've stated earlier, I think my biggest one is I'm getting better at it, but it's how I play my character and how they act in a campaign. Because I have played my characters a little, I guess you say lewd or whatever, and probably have made a lot of people uncomfortable, and I do apologize for that.
Hmm.
Or playing a little aggressively, or but
I mean, everybody has their regrets, and honestly, like a problem that you may perceive may not even be a problem to somebody else. It's
Hmm.
all a matter of perspective.
Yeah.
but yeah, I think mostly is like if it's a very a serious combat and the rolls are not going well, and what I'm saying is you could have rolled in a certain way to help the party out, but instead you wind up being taken down and everyone's dying.
Well, I mean, you can't really regret that. That's not your fault. That's just how
Hmm.
the
Yeah.
die rolls, literally. You know, if you
Mhm.
feel like if you regret feeling upset by that, that's something else. But you know, everybody feels upset whenever they roll shitty. Like I ain't gonna lie, whenever we were fighting those giant spiders and I rolled like two twos and a three with Talvi on all three scorching rays. Yeah, I was kind of
Mhm.
like, I was a little like, all right, buddy, fine, fireball.
I
I won't need to roll next time. That's
Life
D&D for you.
happen.
Yeah.
I'm gonna burn down all of this house.
If only you're an evocation wizard. Then you
Yeah.
could fireball without worry.
Yeah, really. Yeah. Yeah. Either I won't. I won't get on that. I really like wizards. I won't get into that. Um, something that I regret. Decisions that I've made that I regret. Okay. So as a player, I would say a decision that I've made that I regret is taking animate dead every time, because I never get to use it, and it's such a waste. Like it's such a waste. D&D games are not very they're not very receptive to using necromancy spells unless they're healing spells, and healing is necromancy. Let's face it, it's necromancy.
It is a manipulation of her life, so technically, yeah.
But they're not very, like, you can't just like reanimate a zombie of like even a bad guy and it'd be like, okay, it's everybody's like, oh no, you can't do that, that's evil, and it's like, well, okay. And then you're like stuck with the spell as a wizard, and you can't change it because you're a wizard, and it's written in a book because you're a wizard. Yeah, I mean, I'm still trying to use it in Founding, so who knows? Maybe we'll see what happens. I feel like it would be better if you could use it on animals. That would be less frowned upon, I feel like. But yeah.
No, yeah.
But as a DM, I have many regrets.
Aw.
I have killed a lot of players in my early days. Boy, as a DM, my early days I was a fucking bloodthirsty maniac, and I regret that immensely. I feel like that certainly took a lot of like enjoyment out of the game for some of my players, and it was definitely a learning experience. It's something that every DM has to go through. You have to learn to be a good DM. You don't just you don't start that way. You have
Some
to
of us
learn.
still haven't learned.
And sometimes, well, it isn't easy, and it's painful. So,
Mhm.
I won't point to any specific examples because there's not really much of a point in it. But yeah.
Before moving on, I just realized something else I also regret.
Hmm?
Not being able to play how I created my character on how they would play as.
Huh?
I'm talking about like between of good, evil, or neutral character.
You mean you keep flip flopping between alignments?
Well, it's not only that, it's just I'm so afraid to play my character how they're supposed to be.
Well, yeah. I mean that goes along with the whole not being able to use necromancy thing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I want to reanimate a goddamn zombie. Damn it!
Mhm.
Let me make
But
slaves, zombie slaves.
that's one of my biggest regrets, and I'm gonna start playing my character as they should be, like Abaddon.
Fair
Mhm.
enough. All right. So we're running out of time here. Got about 12 minutes before we're actually supposed to end the recording session, but I suppose we can go a little long in order to finish out the rest of the questions. I don't know why questions 32 through 36 are in a different font color for whatever reason. I have no idea why it's bothering me. Let's see. Question 31. Do you prefer your games to be balanced, or do you prefer them to be more chaotic, Michael?
Hmm. Honestly, I like a little bit of chaos, but yeah, if it comes like people talking over each other, that's where it's kind of I'm like, yeah, let's not do that.
Yeah.
And basically, like I said, I'm more of a rules loose DM. If it's fun, I'll allow it, or if it's cool, I'll allow it. So yeah, I guess I prefer them to be a little more chaotic.
Fair enough. Cypress?
I prefer my games to be balanced, to be honest. Chaos can be fun, but it's wrangling cats, and I've been doing it for years. I kind of just prefer my shit to be a little bit more balanced.
Oh yeah, understandable.
Love?
For me, I guess I kind of like in between balance and chaos. But for what Michael said, since it's online, definitely need the work of like not talking over other players,
Well,
which
I
I,
mean,
something else I'm also been trying to work on as myself as a
Mhm.
player.
I wouldn't consider that chaotic. That's disruptive. There's a difference.
Oh yeah.
Talking to other people is not just being chaotic. That's just being, that's being rude.
Mhm.
Uh, I feel like the question is geared more towards the game itself, kind of like how we do a lot of things in Star Wars versus how we do things in Founding. We were
Mhm.
chaotic as fuck in Star Wars. In Founding, we are not really chaotic much at all, honestly.
No, and that's one of the reasons why I'm really enjoying Founding. And I was, you know, still kind of jonesing for doing it more. But
Yeah.
Mhm.
again,
Yeah, I want to
scheduling.
do more too.
I'm gonna
Mhm.
take note to be as chaotic as fucking Cypress's games now. Nah, I'm not being serious about that. I
Please
couldn't do
no.
something that way.
Moving on to the next question. What invests you as the DM in a campaign, Michael?
I like to call these scenes I really enjoy tavern scenes where players just sit back and role play and just like get into their characters. It really delights me when my players get into character and just chat in character. It's just so enjoyable for me. Plus, it means I have to do less work. So,
Yeah, exactly. Every DM loves that. I feel like it's just like, all right, nice. I don't have to do anything for 10 minutes.
hmm
Go smoke a cigarette or
yeah.
something.
But yeah, that's what I really enjoy. Players just getting into character, especially if they've barely played before, and just acting out their characters. It's really fun.
Oh yeah.
That invests me heavily.
What about you, Cypress? What invests you other than what Michael said?
That's exactly what keeps me coming back for DMing is knowing that everyone's having a good time and as you have stated want to play more of. You know, it borders on the imposter syndrome type of situation for me. I'm always viewing like I'm not doing a good job. So
Hmm.
it may seem like pandering, but letting me know that you guys are wanting to do more helps quite a bit.
You're like a
hmm
rabid badger on a stick over here, man. I
hmm
want to play more.
yeah.
Interesting phrasing.
I mean, that's just how I feel. Sometimes you're the badger, sometimes you're the stick.
You're doing a great job, by the way, Cypress. You
Yeah,
always do.
Thank you.
seriously.
Yes.
Legitimately, I'm trying. Like I said, with founding, it is built on the bones of a module, and so there's a lot of things that I'm worried that I'm hit and miss on. You know,
Well,
so
Hmm.
none of us have really played the module, so we don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
which is kind of one of the sad parts, but I'm also glad for because you guys aren't immediately able to compare to the existing module, and well, this is what it was, originally. Why is it this now? Because I fucking said so is not a great answer, but sometimes it is the answer.
Yeah.
hmm
What about you, Lo?
Uh, for me, I think when it comes to campaign and stuff, I enjoy the RP with with some combat. Um, when it comes down to it, though, I like to see a little more ideas of like not all the time starting at a tavern, but maybe like on traveling in a cart or something and going to a tavern or some other place like the mayor's estate because he summoned some travelers to do a job for him. There's some a little different flavor, but will still let us get to know our characters. You know what I mean?
Mm.
More player interaction, I believe. What you're saying?
Mhm.
Yeah. Honestly, there's nothing that I could say that well, hasn't already been said. As a DM, I thoroughly enjoy it whenever you guys RP with each other. That is just the joy of DMing, honestly. Um,
Mm.
so yeah, guess we'll move to the next question because honestly, there's nothing else to say about that. Um, where are we now? Yes.
33.
How do different games / DMs change a player's style? Sure, exactly how to.
I have the
that.
perfect example because I'm sorry, I'm going to cut you off on this one, Rocky. I'm the only one that's played 2 different systems with the same group of players.
That's
Mm.
true. That's very true.
You guys have very different styles of play between the 2 games. I mean, obviously, we've been discussing the Star Wars was a lot more chaotic, a lot more hectic. The style of the game was just more in line with that. Whereas Founding, it's more of a serious tone. We have moments of levity, but not like we were with Star Wars. Talvi and Chaba, very different ends of the spectrum. Still,
Oh,
still on that evil neutral territory, but lawful to chaotic. Very separate, ends of the spectrum. Blumbles to Blava, once more, very different. Both are more on the quiet side, but Blava's much more studious. Blumbles was much more action and gung ho.
yeah.
Very different style. I have not had enough of Shan to really know the difference between Alex and Shan. So
Sorry.
no, it's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. That's a failure on me. I should be integrating Alex in more. I'm just trying to find those story beats, and I'm working on it. I'm working up to it. I have something planned. It's just as it stands, Shan was much more knowledgeable, on top of things. As the surgeon, coming into the group. Alex has a very different role in the campaign, and he's still adjusting to the situation as it stands. You're along for the ride, still learning and talking with Talvi to figure out your place amongst everything. So it's not wrong. It's just there hasn't been enough play style difference between the two to really know the differences between the two. B1T, very loud. Rock, very not subdued, just very subtle, I guess would be the best way of putting it.
Stoic.
More stoic, thank you. Stoic is the better term.
One of the
Art,
reasons. Sorry.
Arden and Kate are really the closest in personality characters wise.
Yeah. Yeah. Honestly. I honestly kind of feel like at least for somewhat, at least for Star Wars and for Founding in some way, John sort of plays like an alternative version of himself in some way. He's very similar to the characters that he plays in those games. Honestly, the most different that I've seen him, the most different character that I've ever seen John play from himself, has been Fig, which is interesting to think about, really. But yeah, is that all you have to say on the matter, Cypress?
Unfortunately, yes. I mean, getting further into it is not really going to do too much. The only other player that was present between the 2 campaigns has exited Founding, and there was a definite playstyle difference between the 2 of them. But I think that was more akin to his learning of 5e and
Yeah.
not really falling into the system as well. So
We miss
I
you,
feel he was more
Cody.
retracted from
We miss
I
you.
miss you.
it.
I miss our barbarian.
Yes. He's one with the Force now.
Yeah.
Either way, I have nothing to really add on to this question because I don't have much experience with it. I definitely can
Yeah,
see your
same.
point of view though, Cypress. We are a completely different beast between Star Wars and Founding. Granted though,
Oh
I
yeah.
don't know if that was entirely because of the system. We're just not I'm not a Jawa. But
I
yeah.
I think once we found the trash hot dogs in Star Wars, our destiny was set
Yeah.
for how that campaign was gonna go.
Yeah. Good time though. I loved it.
Oh yeah, I loved it.
It's phenomenal. I feel like basically do we all feel like we could probably move on from this question, honestly?
I do.
Same, honestly. Love?
Hmm?
We like to move on?
No, you talking about moving on to the next question?
Yeah, because this one is kind of. I don't know if
Yeah.
any of us can answer it except for Cyphers.
Hmm.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
there's different styles, characters for the different DMs, but I mean, again, that requires a player having multiple DMs to really see the difference.
Hmm.
That's true.
But like I've said before, when it comes to different modules and whatnot, it would take me a bit to learn them when it comes to character creation.
Uh,
Unfortunately, folks, I am just about done. I've got some chores that I have to take care of for the rest of the day. Uh, finish up what you're saying, and then I will have to dip.
oh, okay.
Okay.
Damn, we're so close to the end. It's okay though. Fuck it, we'll have part 3.
We've
Two
got 2
questions.
questions, and we can always add more.
I'll see you guys. Yeah, I'll see you guys in 2 years. I was about to say, I do actually, further looking into the question, I do actually see myself completely changing the way that I play per se, depending on the DM. Obviously, I play with a lot of homebrew whenever I'm playing under like Nick or even Michael, but in your games I don't, and so I build myself to be more raw. Granted, I play a wizard almost exclusively, and there's a lot of differences in homebrew and non-homebrew wizards, obviously, but I feel like I play myself. I have more access to homebrew under Nick's games, but I feel like I am more reserved. I don't feel like I can do basically whatever I would like within reason under Nick's games. I feel like they're more rigid in terms of their rule of cool factor than you or Michael is. I feel like the scale is sort of a sliding scale, starting with Nick's, going to Cypress, and then going to Michael. Michael is very accepting of rule of cool. You somewhat are, and Nick's is less so, but still somewhat accepting of it.
Hmm.
Well, if you guys did more cool things, I might accept it.
Well, I'm sorry we can't
Ah,
all be the fawns.
Mm.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
I'm being facetious. You guys were great.
I know you
Oh
are.
yeah.
I'm really loving giving the spell descriptions for Talvi though. Like I'm having fun. I know you can probably tell. I'm really having fun with those spell descriptions. It's a good time.
Hmm.
That is one of the things I love. I love to see out of players, and I'm sad. And don't take this the wrong way, Michael or Shan. I'm sad that I'm not seeing it more often. You know, I'm not even seeing that a whole lot with my in life group. So there's nothing that could really be said about that. You know.
Hmm.
Well, I'll say we'll save the final questions here for the next time we meet, I suppose.
Hmm.
Um, there's only 2 or so left, but we may add a couple and have a few, maybe fewer the next time we run the podcast or something. I don't know. But on that, I suppose, you guys ready to sign off?
Yeah.
Hmm.
All right. Well, everyone, it's been a lovely time. I plan on streaming now more regularly. I'm going to try to stream at least 3 times a week, probably around the same time that I started today, which is around 8 o'clock in the morning. I plan on streaming until 12 in the afternoon. Um, whenever I'm able, probably do more podcasts. Try to get the next DM podcast eventually. I don't know when that'll be. Um, who knows? May do more podcasts. Bring back Mike and the Rock, maybe.
Hmm.
We'll see. We'll figure stuff out. But for now, we'll just be seeing you guys whenever we see you again.
Bye bye.
Thanks for having me.
Goodbye, everybody. Thank you
Bye.
for being here, Cypress.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. Peace.